What is good? What is up, y'all? It's your boy here, Jay, back and not better than ever with another episode of Thunder Banter in the last playoff edition, as this is the last episode of the season, as the Oklahoma City Thunder have been eliminated in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. The finals will be this year, the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks. But just like that, the season is over. So let's get all right into it right here on Thunder Banter. What's good, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Thunder Banter. Man, it's been a rough one. It's been a rough one. Been meaning to make this video, but been traveling and really wanted to get the right words out and not just spit out a bunch of nonsense about what just happened. But it hurts, guys. It hurts. The Oklahoma City Thunder are downed in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals against the San Antonio Spurs in a tough one. In a tough one, I feel like it could have really went either way. Without Ajay Mitchell, without J-Dub. J-Dub played 10 minutes in Game 6, but realistically just wasn't enough in Game 7 for, the firepower that San Antonio had. They had 6 guys in double figures throughout the entire lineup, not just starters, but also players in general off the bench. And they gave it their all. They had a lot more free throws in Game 7, but ultimately, I think it really comes down to, not having one of your star players shoot 2 shots in a Game 7 at that. It just is unacceptable. It's something that is you can't have, especially when you know that he's going to take 25% of the cap hit next year. Dub, Chet, and Shea are all going to take 25%. So I understand that we have some situations to figure out. Caruso's probably not going to leave. Ihart's obviously probably not going to leave. Both reporting coming out that they would most likely return. But for guys around us, right, the guys are looking to get contracts. I wouldn't be shocked if they stay one more year and then leave. But at the end of the day, we need to conserve as much as we can. We do have some draft capital. We do have some opportunity to trade. But it's just, it just sucks, right? There is holes to fill, but I don't think that there's too many holes to fill considering that we were in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals and we had 2 of our best players in this playoffs, right? Chet hadn't really shown up to get his own. I think Ajay Mitchell and Dub were really playing better than Chet had did this whole entire playoffs. I'm not really sure exactly what happened. He was so hot at the beginning of the season, double-double machine and damn near triple-double at times. But it just fell off towards the end of the season. Not sure if the legs got tired. Not sure if the endurance wasn't there. Considering the fact that you're playing somebody that you knew that you were rivals with since 15 years old and they disliked each other. I think that going into that series, you have to have a certain level of urgency, knowing that that person is dying to be in your position, to be an NBA champion. So, in Victor Wembanyama. But at the end of the day, guys, Game 7-0, we're going to have to manage to get through this offseason and come back on the other end ready to go. And I think Shea said it best. When he doesn't get what he wants, he's more motivated than ever. So I hope that that is the case in this season and that we continue to just build, just stack days. And we're not going to go away. We're not going to go away by any means. But just like that, the Thunder season is over after a Game 7 Western Conference Finals loss to the Spurs. The Thunder are now headed to the offseason a tad earlier than they had expected. Without Dub, AJ, the Thunder tried to do all that they could, but just was not enough as the Spurs managed to reach their first finals since 2014 with Kawhi Leonard. Brutal way to end the season as the Thunder understand Game 7s, but just couldn't manage to scrap one last victory versus someone who had beat them several times this season in the San Antonio Spurs. Won't get crazy into narratives and ethical hoops and all that nonsense, but whether OKC was playing dirty or not, or whether I'm not going to get into all that because truthfully, it's not about that. It's about basketball, right, guys? I understand that people want to go off on tangent and it probably get clicks if I talk about that. But at the end of the day, I'm not here for that. I'm here to talk about the basketball that was played and going into the offseason, what we can possibly do. And the results are the results, but we have to find ways to improve this team and get ready for the next season. So let's go ahead and get a little breakdown of these last two games, because obviously I went into game 5 up into this series, but let's get into game 6 and 7. A little bit of there, and then we'll go ahead and drop into the offseason. So in game 6, it was an absolute beatdown, if I could be honest. But you expect the you expect the Spurs to go out and really dominate with their backs against the walls. So at the end of the day, it was a beatdown in San Antonio, even though Thunder were trying to accomplish winning this series. But now with their backs against the wall, the San Antonio Spurs headed into the elimination game in Game 6 for the first time this postseason and would win in an all-around beatdown of the Thunder, 118-91. Spurs would hold OKC to 37% shooting and would have OKC locked down as no player, starter or bench player, eclipsed 15 points for the Thunder. OKC would get out rebounded by 10, 52-42, having the same amount of turnovers as San Antonio, but the Spurs would defend well with 7 blocks as a team. Spurs also had every single player in positive plus or minus and managed to dominate in the free throw category by a wide margin of 13 more free throws. But either way, it wouldn't matter, as OKC needed to shoot the ball better in order for that to really pay dividends. Shea would have 15, but 6 of 18 shooting, as none of OKC starters players rather would be in plus or minus, positive plus or minus. Ihart and Chet both had 10 points this game, as Chet also had 11 boards, but just wasn't enough firepower to put a relentless Spurs team away, especially with their backs against the wall and at home. It just, from the jump, was not what Oklahoma City Thunder wanted. They wanted to come out at least and catch the Spurs by surprise, but the Spurs, both in game 6 and 7, came out extremely hot and extremely urgent in what they wanted to do and what their task was at hand in winning both of these ball games, understanding that they were in elimination in both of these ball games. I think that, the adversity comes into play, right? You want to have adversity before you get into a game 7. You want to have adversity before you play somebody that's going to give you even more adversity. But now on to the game 7 of all game 7s. Now on to the most pivotal 2 words in all of sports. Game 7. For all the marbles and a finals appearance on the line, the Thunder looked to try and rattle a win in their crib with no Ajay Mitchell and no Jalen Williams again. But unfortunately, from the tip, just like I had mentioned, it was Spurs and Spurs until the Thunder got a couple steps back and came back. Stops, doesn't matter, came back, and in the end, the Spurs would defy the odds in Oklahoma City and defeat the defending champs 111-103 and deny back-to-back finals appearance for the Thunder this season. It looked as if they were going to go ahead and probably do so. A lot of the season, it looked as if they were going to cruise into the finals, but that's just not how the finals goes, or the playoffs rather. And the Spurs went ahead and defied odds, and a lot of people won't look at it that way. But you got to admit that they're ahead of schedule, and having Victor Wembanyama at age 22 in a finals is pretty damn early with this team that has an age of 25. So you look at it from that perspective, they're ahead of schedule, and they defied odds, and they defeat the defending champs in a game 7 in Oklahoma City, right? Oklahoma City has had experience with Game 7s with Denver, right? And also the year before that, I just think that there's experience with this team, and then that you typically would think that they would overcome it, but with the injuries, obviously, but those are not excuses, right? We want to sit here and talk about injuries. It's not an excuse. It's part of the game. You understand that you're not going to always be healthy at the end of the season, and that's for every sport. Right, that's for every single sport. But the Spurs went into Oklahoma City and they went ahead and quieted the storm. Just wasn't Oklahoma City Thunder's night, unfortunately. And it just, if you just saw the box score, besides Chet, it would have actually told you a different story, as if maybe Oklahoma City Thunder probably should have won this game. But the energy and the way that Wemby was attacking and dunked on Chet made Chet a shell of himself. Only 2 shots. 2. Unacceptable, unreal. It's 2 more shots than us sitting here at home watching a guy that's taking $25 million of this team's salary next year. $25 million cap hit, and you take 2 shots in a game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. It just cannot happen, right? For you to have 10 points in game 6 in a game where, truthfully, we were getting beat more than we were getting beat in this game 7, for you to only have 2 shots is just flabbergasting to me. Not to mention the fact that you know that nobody else is getting off, so you got to go ahead and get something going. On top of that is game 7, and on top of that, you have played this guy that's wanted to beat you for so damn long. Whether it was the U17, U19, U20, when you're playing in USA versus France, everybody, you constantly win against him. You think that he's going to not remember those things? And there's videos of it everywhere, of him talking about it everywhere. All he thinks about is you, dog. And I'm not saying that that's all Victor Wembanyama thinks about, but in this game 7, that's all he was thinking about, was beating Chet in the game 7. It wasn't about beating the Thunder and going to the finals. Yeah, that's one thing. But all he wanted to do realistically was beat. That's why he's crying after the game. Now, people are going to hop on here and say, that's not why he's crying. Da, 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 da. Truthfully, I believe that's the reason why the tears started rolling. Yeah, he's 22 and goes to the finals. I understand that. But, bro, how many times has Chet just owned his ass and he made Chet look like a shell of himself, only shooting 2 shots the entire game? He dunked on him and that was it. Unreal. As a competitor, as a man, I understand if you have bad games. I get that. But for you to not go out there and give the effort to at least try and have a bad game, it's just he had a bad game because of the fact that he didn't do anything. Anything. It was straight up cardio. I'm still mad about that, and I think that would have really made a difference in at least inching closer in winning this ball game. I mean, it was a lot closer than 111-103. The reason why they got a couple extra points at the end because of free throws. But, I mean, it was back and forth the whole fourth quarter. We could have easily won this game if we get a couple stops and managed to go ahead and give Shea the ball, or someone else come out of the woodworks and give us some. But to be honest, if we think about it, besides Chet, it wasn't a bad showing for the squad considering SGA had his midi working and dropped 35, 4, and 9. You look at it and you're like, well, nobody else was scoring. No, he had 35. Queso had 17. Caruso had 12. McCain had 12. And Jay Will also had 11. So we had some scoring, but it just was turning the ball over again as well. We can't do that. More turnovers than the Spurs, and that can't happen for a team that doesn't turn the ball over. They managed to get 5 more shots, the Spurs did, than the Oklahoma City Thunder, and also can't happen in Game 7, and it didn't have a single guy in positive plus or minus. That is unlike us. I understand that they're a good defensive team, but for them to cause that much havoc against a team that realistically is supposed to be the one that's superior than them and has more experience, and now they have the same amount of experience as we do pretty much, going to the finals, and if they win the finals, which they probably will because this technically was the finals, then they have the same amount of experience as we do. And now we can't be like, oh, well, we have more experience and we're going to bank on the. No, we can't bank on nothing. Just go out and play ball. Having 5 more shots, but shot 45% from the field and 34% from 3, Oklahoma City Thunder. But just still have to find a way to be better. All Spurs starters were in double figures. Every single Spurs starter was in double figures, with Wemby having 22, but also having 2 bench players in double figures as well. So 7 players in double figures. Guys were scoring and have to find a way to defend better, and also, not get too caught up in the fact that, this is game 7 and have to find a way, guys, to just go out there and play basketball. But also to not have our supposed cornerstone, shoot 2 shots. I mean, I can't get over that. It just doesn't make sense, right? It's game 7. It's not the game 7 in the finals, and yeah, I understand that. But any game 7, for crying out loud. It hurt to watch, especially being in San Jose, not having my jersey and my shirt. I just didn't want to bring it up to ruin it, obviously, because I'm traveling with limited package. or limited, baggage up to San Jose. It was my sister's graduation party, and I'm up there watching the game with, a bunch of family, a bunch of friends, and they all want to watch it with me. And it just sucks that, the one time that I mean, I haven't watched a Thunder game with really any like fam or like bunch of friends with me. Like I'm like the only Thunder fan out here in San Diego, and to go up there to San Jose, and obviously got a bunch of people that are paying attention to this game now and knowing that I'm a Thunder fan, and then they they don't play good, and it it just sucks. It just sucks. I'm tired of feeling that way, like in front of like and feeling of embarrassment. Truthfully, um, the whole playoffs was just a lot to begin with the whole narrative about. I couldn't even go on Sports Center without people talking about like, you know, Shea or the Oklahoma City Thunder being unethical, and it was just honestly, as a basketball fan, it was kind of tiring to see. And I've never seen this discourse that bad about a specific narrative. There's been bad narratives for sure, and there's been ones that have been just, ones with LeBron James, one with Kobe, ones with Shaq. Every star has bad narratives, and every team that wins has bad narratives, but nothing like what this brought to the table. I mean, the NBA has a very big problem, I think, with not only the situation that's going on the court, which I discussed about foul baiting, and I think that and when you have somebody like Castle that goes on later, right, and talks about how, oh well, I do the same thing, and I can't lie, and it's just amazing to see that the wave of people that just flow with whatever they want to, they want to be the same, or they want to be different, or and it's amazing to see how everybody continues to be, you know, not two faced, I would say, but very redundant in the sense that, you're going to go ahead and root for somebody that, you know, literally everybody thought was an ethical basketball player. Stephon Castle. Hey, Shay, you should learn from Stephon Castle, was what Jay Williams said. And then this man turns around, goes on on the press conference before the game, yes, well, before the series starts, and talks about, well, like, you know, what would you say about, the foul betting? Well, I don't really know how to answer that because I do it too. Bro, what? At the end of the day, it is what it is. And my point is, I was tired of it. It was going to continue on into the finals about, oh, they only got there because they went to the free throw line. Man, bro, the, the Spurs had more free throws than the Thunder this entire series. So that narrative is clipped. Didn't have more free throws than the Thunder. Also managed to every single win have more free throws than the Thunder. So you need more free throws in order to beat the Thunder. Again, I'm not gonna get on tangent about what the foul baiting and everything, but the narratives were tired, and they still are. And I just feel like sometimes when you're a sports fan and that just happens, it just takes the joy away from watching the game. People can't just sit there and enjoy what they're watching. They always got to critique. They always got to say something negative. It's just how social media is nowadays, and it's tough to even go on social media if things aren't, because everybody, like I said, goes with the wave. And at the end of the day, if it's Shea two free throws, bro, I hop on the NFL account. I can't get away from it. I hop on the NFL account and motherfuckers are talking about, oh, Shea two free throws. It's like, I'm not even mad. I'm not mad about like people being funny. Like that's cool and all, but like the narrative that carries on, and especially it being my own team, and then having this motherfucker's jersey in the back, like I'm not mad about it, but it's just tiring, right? It's just exhausting, right? Like at first it was playful, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Then at the end it's just tiring. It's just like, bro, just shut up, like because the narrative doesn't even make sense. Is my point, right? When you're constantly trying to, make it, explain it to people, they won't listen to you because it is what it is. So at the end of the day, I'm just glad it's over. But in the end, it wasn't enough to win the game seven. Oklahoma City Thunder are downed, and now we're gonna have to go into the offseason and see what we can do to manage to bounce back from this tough game seven. And in the end, like I said, um, we're fine. We're fine. And now the Thunder season comes to a close, so close, but yet so far. I feel this team was at times causing a bit too much of just havoc in their own way. Um, and sometimes they're cruising. And I think that they were their biggest, I guess, enemy in a sense, right? Sometimes that they would be lackadaisical, but at the end of the day, we weren't really lackadaisical having the number one seed in the West, right? But I just feel like sometimes we took a back seat or a step back because of we knew that we weren't fully healthy and we wanted to get Dub back because Dub didn't start the season with us. But that's what happens when you're on the top of the world and you have a target on your back, right? Not to mention the fact that you're on the top of the world, you're cruising, you're having a good time, right? Nobody's really in your way, but then you have a target on your back, which you don't realize. And then when people come in and bite you in the ass, it's like, damn, oh, we still got to play. So I think that the adversity is really a big part in the playoffs, and that kind of goes into what I was just saying right now. Is just the fact that we didn't have any adversity. We had two sweeps, I mean, 8 straight wins. It wasn't even any adversity, but I think for the most part, it was handled well. First seed again for the third straight season, another Western Conference appearance in the third straight season, and sweeping two series to get here. I think that was fantastic, but I think the path is what hurt OKC the most. No adversity, two sweeps. It was too easy to get to the Western Conference Finals, but playing a team like the Spurs will probably take 7 games, and you want to have adversity. But then again, the Thunder were hurt all season and going into the playoffs in Game 7, no dub for practically all season after the hamstring issues lingered, and missing the start of the season as well because of a wrist injury and his surgery. But long story short, even though OKC fell short this season, it could be seen as a positive, not a success, not a success, because it wasn't. But maybe a look at some holes that need to be filled this offseason with the draft capital that we do have. It sucks. This season and this team deserved more. I think they go back to back if they play the Knicks this season in the finals. But this team was hurt and took a fully loaded Spurs squad to beat them. Yes, they're young and they don't have as much experience, but it took a fully loaded Spurs squad. I think coming back next year healthier with more, not as much pressure, right? Not more, but just not as much pressure and feeling more, healthier. No narrative over Oklahoma City Thunder's head, snagging another one seed and reminding people in Oklahoma is that are not in just in Oklahoma, but just in the NBA community in general that OKC's not going anywhere. And will do some justice to be able to win in 2027. I think that that's truthfully what is the mindset right now, getting healthy and getting better. And we'll see what happens there. But until then, we have to sulk and sit and replay Game 7 until it's time for the NBA to start up again here in October. Summer League will start in Vegas and will be the first time that we will see, hopefully Nikola Topic in more minutes. And then obviously Sorber and all of the picks that we are going to accumulate. And who knows what's going to happen in the summer league as well? Are there going to be trades that are going to happen with the draft capital, like I had just mentioned? There's a lot to look forward to, and I think that there's not a lot of downside. Yes, we did lose Game 7, and we were so close yet so far, but I think that it's a success, or rather a positive, not a success this season. Look at this season as a positive in the fact that we did have limited, you know, we did have limited in Game 7, and we managed to take this fully loaded Spurs squad all the way. And, that isn't something to look down upon, and I think that if we have those two players, we win that ball game. So going into this season, getting healthy, getting stronger, getting faster, and getting better. Like I said, but until then, we have to sulk. And Summer League will start up here soon, but the new season will start up in October, and I'll hopefully catch a game in Summer League because I haven't been to a Summer League game in Vegas, but that would be awesome. But I will get a couple off-season videos of Thunder Banter. But we are done, man, for this 2026 season. I can't believe it's all over. Um, I can't, truthfully, because I truthfully thought that we were going to go to the finals, and sometimes falling short, just short, it feels surreal. Um, but I'm not gonna stay here any longer and sulk and talk to you guys about how sad I am or whatever. We're gonna flip the script. We're gonna get to the new season, and we're gonna get into the off season. And I guess I'll turn the page and watch some mediocre Padres minor league baseball right now because it's absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. And then I gotta turn the page again, and we'll see what the Chargers have in store with all the things that they got going this season. But right now, I'm sulking in my sorrows about what happened with the Thunder. Truthfully, I really wanted to beat this Spurs team after them whooping our butts all season long without dub and continuing to have the people around the league talk about how the Spurs are next and Oklahoma City's Thunder is not there. Well, they're going to be there, but how they're the Spurs are better and younger and this and that all season long. And that's what happened with us last year. And I think that I got, a little overzealous in the fact that they're obviously, the youngsters of the league now. And OKC was that last year. So now it's a Spurs turn and hoping that I'm just going to watch a good finals and not a blowout, not a sweep of anything. I think the Knicks have been playing really inspired basketball. And the first time they've been to the finals in 3 decades, it seems like. Um, but man, I just hope for a good finals, and I hope that these teams are probably the best teams considering the fact that they were the ones that won or actually played in the in season tournament final. So it'll be a good one, guys. It'll be a good one. I know the Knicks are thinking about the time that they lost to the Spurs in the in season tournament, and now it really matters for the actual tournament. So let's watch. Stay tuned for a good finals and get to the off season. See what we do in the off season. See what we do in summer league, and we'll see you guys in October, but you guys stay tuned. Tune into the Padres banter. Tune into the Chargers banter, but no more. No more Thunder banter for the season. We'll get into some obviously Jay's point after, but at the end of the day, guys, appreciate you guys tuning in all 2026 season, and we'll see you guys soon. Thunder up. We out.